everyone, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Nina, and here at this channel we talk all about mental health, personal development, and understanding our own psychology. And today we're going to be talking all about escapism, specifically the darker side of escapism. So we will be discussing the 5 most damaging ways that maladaptive escapism can affect our lives. So let's go ahead and start by just reminding ourselves what escapism actually is. So we can think of escapism as a mental diversion from unpleasant or boring aspects of daily life, typically through activities involving imagination or entertainment. Now, there are many reasons why we may engage in escapism, but typically it's because we are feeling overwhelmed or we feel the need to at least temporarily avoid different thoughts or tasks or situations or emotions that we find unpleasant. And escapism can be helpful because it can give us that emotional break that we are seeking. And it can also remind us that we can still be happy or that we can still enjoy life during difficult or stressful times. In fact, psychologist Sigmund Freud considered a quota of escapist fantasy a necessary element in the lives of humans. And this is something that I tend to strongly agree with. The problem, however, is that for many people, escapism can become maladaptive, and at this point, it becomes very, very destructive in their lives. Now, I have made 2 previous videos all about escapism. The first one is kind of an overview on the topic and really the psychology behind escapism. And the second one is how to overcome escapism addiction if you do feel like it is problematic for you. So I will go ahead and link those down in the description box below so you have these resources. But today I wanted to talk specifically about how escapism can be destructive. Really the top 5 ways that maladaptive escapism can be damaging to our lives. Now, there are really endless ways that we can try to detach ourselves from reality for a while or to alter our mental state, and I do discuss some of the more common ways that we might do that in those other videos. But the fact of the matter is that modern life has become very overwhelming for many people, which is why escapism has become so pervasive. But when it starts to prevent us from being able to do the things that we need to do in our life or that we want to do in our life, or it keeps us from advancing in our life or improving our life, it's really something that we do need to look into. So let's go ahead and talk about the top 5 ways that escapism could be affecting us. Now, the first thing is that it can lead to developing the habit of avoiding. When we engage in escapism too frequently, we can really develop a pattern where we try to avoid the challenges in our life that we really do need to face in order to improve our life and to move forward. We can really develop a habit of running away from stressors and problems instead of dealing with them directly. This type of behavior frequently shows up as procrastination, where we have to do something that makes us stressed out or uncomfortable, but we use avoidance and escapism so that we don't have to think about that thing and it never gets accomplished. The trouble with this strategy is that the stress is going to continue until we actually get that thing out of the way, until we actually accomplish it. We have to remember that avoidance cannot and will not ever solve problems. In fact, it tends to make our problems grow. It can also affect our personal growth and our professional growth, and it certainly can increase anxiety and make it a lot more frightening to address problems in the future, which is something that I also have a video about. I will go ahead and link that down in the description box below. It is the avoidance anxiety cycle. The second problem is that it can lead to feelings of powerlessness. We can begin to think of ourselves as a victim who is helpless instead of believing that we are capable and powerful, because instead of facing our problems, we're always trying to hide from them. And of course, this is something that can greatly affect our self-esteem and our self-confidence. In fact, I used to know someone very well who suffered from escapism addiction, and he would jokingly say that he took the semester off of college to play Nintendo, but I think there was actually a degree of truth to that because he really was addicted to playing Nintendo. And because of this, he started losing his confidence, even in things that you wouldn't think would require confidence. So for example, he began to have trouble even ordering food from a drive-through because he just felt so uncertain of himself. And with time, he really lost all his confidence. He just felt that he was so incapable that he never re-enrolled in college. So this is something that can start to deeply affect us on many different levels. When escapism starts to become such a big part of our life, it directly affects our self-worth because we are really reinforcing very negative self-perceptions, which of course can lead us to feel like we are completely inadequate, even though of course that is not the case. The third problem is that it can harm our relationships. Now this can happen for many reasons, but one of the biggest issues is that we often avoid communication. We try to use escapism to keep us from having the communication that's necessary to solve problems. We have to communicate in order to resolve conflict. When we use escapism to try to mentally run away from the pain in the relationship or conflict instead of dealing with these issues directly, really nobody wins, and in many cases it will actually lead to the end of the relationship itself. Another issue is that when we are always trying to avoid conflict, we often have to ignore and avoid the other person completely, which can of course lead to a loss of intimacy and a loss of the time that is necessary to share meaningful experiences. So if we are not spending enough quality time together because of the escapism, that is of course going to negatively affect the relationship. Number 4 is that it can lead to a loss of passion for our real life. The more time we spend engaging in our fantasy world, the less interest and energy we have to enjoy our real world. And we start to notice that our priorities will shift in a way where we start to put the escapism habits first. We can even start to make our escapism activities more important than our own self, more important than knowing ourselves or knowing our personal needs or fulfilling these needs. We can start to believe that our fantasy world is way better than our real world and really just kind of want to stay there. We can start to lose touch with the people and the things in our life that used to hold great meaning. When we are spending so much time escaping, we really start to not have any time left for any of the other aspects of our life, and these things start to become less and less important. And lastly, it can lead to isolation. Escapism can certainly contribute to feelings of loneliness and depression, especially when our chosen form of escapism really pulls us away from other people or into a digital world. We can begin to try to fill our needs for socialization through social media and through online forums instead of meeting up with people and interacting face to face. And this can become extremely problematic because we can feel like our social needs are being met, but that generally is not the case. So when that happens, it can again contribute to those feelings of isolation and loneliness and depression. So these are some of the most damaging ways that maladaptive escapism can affect our lives, but these are not the only ways. So if you would like to share your story or add to this list, please do so in the comment section below. Also, please do check out the other 2 videos on escapism, especially if you are feeling like you may need a little bit more support in this area, or if you feel that escapism may be problematic for you personally. So that being said, I truly hope you found today's video to be interesting and helpful. If you did, please like it, share it, and definitely become a subscriber if you are not one already. We absolutely want you to stay connected, and I hope the rest of your day is extraordinary.